A woman stumbled into the crowd screaming, in the middle of a busy sidewalk, in the pouring rain, clutching her swollen belly, knees buckling, tears mixing with raindrops. She was in labor, terrified, and minutes away from giving birth. At first, people rushed by, unsure of what to do. Someone called an ambulance. Then a stranger knelt beside her, helping her. She was terrified and in deep pain. But she wasn't alone anymore. It was the city. Loud, fast, unforgiving. She was on her way to the hospital, but the contractions came too quickly. Her phone had died. Her taxi never came. And now, she was stumbling on the cold, wet concrete, thinking, is this how I'm going to die? Is this how my baby will come into this world? And then, a hand reached out. Rough, wrinkled, weathered. It belonged to a woman most people avoided. Her hair was matted, her clothes soaked and torn, her skin sunburned and calloused. A homeless woman. The kind people crossed the street to avoid. But she knelt beside the laboring woman without hesitation. Breathe. Just breathe with me. I've done this before, she said calmly. The pain was unbearable. The fear overwhelming. But somehow, the stranger's voice, gentle and firm, cut through the chaos. She managed to take her away from the busy sidewalk to a more secured place. The homeless woman took off her own coat and placed it under the laboring mother's back. She pulled a small, crumpled blanket from her cart of belongings and shielded her from the rain. She yelled for help over and over, but no one came. Then she got to work. She rubbed the woman's back, held her hand, whispered to her, wiped the sweat from her face with her own sleeve. In that moment, she wasn't just a homeless woman. She was strength. She was courage. She was everything the soon-to-be mother needed. The labor was fast and brutal. I can't do this, the woman sobbed. Yes, you can, the stranger replied. You already are. Minutes passed like hours. The contractions came closer. The pressure built. And then through pain and panic a tiny cry pierced the night. A baby. Born right there under the bridge close to the sidewalk. Under the storm, in the arms of a woman who had nothing but gave everything. The homeless woman wrapped the newborn in the rest of her blanket, checking its breathing, cradling it with practiced hands. The mother, too weak to move, sobbed with relief and disbelief. Sirens finally echoed in the distance. Paramedics arrived. They rushed in, expecting panic, but stopped in awe at what they saw. A baby, alive and warm, a mother stable, and a homeless woman quietly sitting beside them, soaking wet, hands trembling. They tried to speak to her. She only said she needed help. The mother reached for her rescuer's hand, tears in her eyes. You saved my life. You saved his life. The homeless woman nodded. It wasn't the first time I've delivered a baby. I used to be a nurse. The paramedics looked at her, stunned. Her past life flickering through in a single sentence, one that held more pain and story than anyone could imagine. Before they could ask more, she stood up. Quietly, slowly, picked up her cart of belongings, and began to walk away. Wait, the mother called out. Please don't go. But the woman just smiled and said, You're safe now. She disappeared into the rain. The story made the news. Witnesses shared what they'd seen. A few grainy security camera clips were all that remained. Reporters tried to find her, to thank her, to tell the world who she was. But she never showed up again. The mother and her child, both healthy, never forgot her. Every year, on the baby's birthday, they leave flowers and a blanket at the place where he was born. A quiet tribute to a woman who had nothing, but gave the greatest gift. Some people said she was an angel. Others said she must have had a tragic past. A few dismissed it altogether. But the mother knew. She had felt her hands, heard her voice, seen the strength in her eyes. She was real. And she saved 2 lives that night. It's easy to walk past someone and judge. To assume they're broken, hopeless, forgotten. But sometimes, the ones the world throws away are the very ones who show up when it matters most. That night, a child was born not in a hospital, but in the arms of kindness. And somewhere out there, under a bridge or on another street, a former nurse with tired feet and a hidden heart of gold continues to walk. Quiet, invisible, still watching, still waiting for someone to need her again. Because real heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes, they wear torn coats, push shopping carts, and disappear before the world can thank them.